Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome everybody back to the podcast. I hope life is treating you well at this point in time, starting off this week. So, I'm sorry to say that this episode is going to be more about a lot of things that I guess the film industry is doing wrong. And the reason why is because last week, if you haven't heard, there was an incident on a movie set where the actor Alec Baldwin fatally shot Halyna Hutchins, the DP, on the movie Rust, which he is also a producer on. He also wounded the director, and there have been more details coming out about why this situation happened and why it should have never happened. But I didn't really want to dive into this case necessarily because there's still a lot of information coming out. It's still very fresh. But it does speak to a symptom that has been going on in the film industry for a very, very long time. And I don't want to say that it's like on every movie set, because clearly it's not every movie set that this happens, but set safety is one of the key elements of a working environment when you are on set. When you are signing up to be on a film, if you're an actor, if you're a crew member, if you're the director, if you're the DP, there is this expectation that, yes, it's going to be long hours. Yes, there's going to be some grueling things that are happening in terms of like just, time crunches and stress and just trying to get the shot and things going wrong. There's all of that. But that should never, ever take place of making sure that everybody on that set is safe. And especially when it comes to, having weapons on set. But even just like with anything that anybody could get hurt with, it's extremely important that there's time taken to make sure that people can walk off your set alive and well and happy that they were involved in making something that I hope that you hope is pretty spectacular, that people are going to want to watch for years down the road, that it was a good experience. And not something that is tragic, not something that is going to cause harm or trauma in the long run. And unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. And this is not an isolated incident. There have been many stories about crew members who were exhausted, or they were put in situations where they were risking their life in order to complete a movie, to get a shot, to make the day. And I gotta say, it's like I understand that when you are in the environment of a set, it kind of feels like you're separating from reality. Like it literally feels like you are in another world, like you are in a place where you're allowed to play and be creative, and yeah, even though it's stressful, it just there feels like there's this separation from the rest of the world and from the rest of reality. And with that also sometimes comes this I guess attitude that nobody is going to get hurt doing some of the things that they are asked to do. And, like I said, think of all the movies and all the shows that are being made and how many times, like, it's done right, that safety is done right, that everybody is looked after, that, there's not, as much as people might be exhausted, as much as the schedule might, kind of impinge on your life for a short amount of time, or on the crew members, lives. Most of the time, a crew walks away and they move on to the next thing, and but like I said, there's these certain times when it just doesn't happen, and it's tragic, and in fact, it should never happen. And we can kind of speculate on why this particular why this happened on the Alec Baldwin set, because there is negotiations with IATSE, which is the crew, the manpower that makes the film and the television that we all enjoy. And all they were really, all they've been asking for is just to have, a kind of work-life balance, to not be kind of run into the ground, that to kind of being paid more for what they do, and to also have just like common sense, like breaks, like to be able to have a dinner break or a lunch break, or to be able to go home and have time to, like, be with their families for a little bit before they have to, like, quickly rush back to set. Just small things. But then, you run up against the expectation that, a movie or a show is supposed to take a certain amount of time to be in production. And so with that means long hours. With that means that, you have to kind of like make these sacrifices for the good of making this thing. Like you're putting things aside, you're sacrificing so that this piece, whatever it is, can get made. And to, like, they in a way, it kind of seems like there's this expectation that, like, you have to give everything to it. And if you even say something like, hey, this is dangerous, or hey, this is like, the everybody's exhausted, we need to take a break, like somehow that's compromising, or that's somehow like your heart's not in it, like you're not all in because you're not willing to, like, exhaust yourself and make it so that, like, every moment that you're working on this thing is like, you're like every waking moment is working on this thing. And that's not the case. Like there have been so many examples of how you can make a movie or make a show and have a reasonable set of hours that you can still make your day and you don't have to exhaust your crew. Like, I brought it up before, but there are French hours, which they allow for people to go, to go home at a reasonable hour. They wrap at like 5 or 6, and then you're allowed to go home and spend time with your family before you have to be back on set, like at 6 o'clock that morning, and there's no reason why we can't do that. But I guess because we've been doing it one way for so long that now, like, that's the way we've always done it. So why change it? And I think a lot of the people in IATSE thought that with COVID and the shutdown, that gave an opportunity for everybody, including producers and studios, to rethink the way in which they made they made stuff because of the fact that, like, since there were so many COVID restrictions put in place, that it made everything slow down. It made it so that, like, you had to take extra time because, like, there was this expectation that somebody could walk away from that set with COVID, and that would be, the worst thing that could happen because of the fact that, like, it's such a dangerous virus. And, not to say that it's not still dangerous now, but I'm just saying, like, it sounded like once productions ramped up again, that all of that, all of that caution, or all of that, like, yeah, we're only going to work like 10 hours, like, all of that went away, and they were like, well, time to get the gears going again. We're going to work 16 to 20 hours again, and we got to get these shows cranked out. We got to get these movies cranked out. And the people on the crew were like, this is insane. Like, I thought we had reached a point where we were rethinking how we made things because, like, we had COVID. But that wasn't the case. And then now, like, there still could be a strike. There still could, like, the agreement that they had, far as I know from now, is that the members have not voted on what was agreed with, and so there is still that potential that crews could strike, or they could walk off the job, and that could, I mean, this whole situation with Alec Baldwin's film, like, that was part of it, from what I hear, that the crew knew that they were on a set that was potentially dangerous, and they did not like it at all. And I don't blame them. I would not want to be on a set in which I felt like something could go wrong, or that things were a little bit too dangerous, because no film is worth it. No show is worth, like, your life. Like, that's plain and simple. Like, you just don't do it, because there's always going to be another show. There's always going to be another movie. But that situation that you're in could be very dangerous and could end your life. And that's not the kind of atmosphere that we need the crew to be thinking about when they're on set. We want the crew to be thinking about, okay, I need to set up, I need to make sure that these lights are put up. I need to make sure that this is happening. I need to make sure that, like, this actor has like the makeup that they need. Like, we need all of them to focus on their job, and not whether or not they're going to walk away from set, injured. And like I said, I don't want to say it's an easy thing to do, but it should be the top priority. And more often than not, it sounds like it's not. It sounds like, since everybody is going into this bubble where they're, everybody's excited, everybody wants to put all of their energy into making whatever it is they're making, that the people who should be, thinking about safety, like, need to be there. They need to make sure that they are reminding everybody that, yes, we are making something fun. Yes, we are doing it. We are playing make believe, and we are going to make something that hopefully is pretty awesome when we're done. But we need to be safe first. The whole saying, safety first. Like, and there are safety meetings at the beginning of shoots, like of the shoot day, and so that is great, but that doesn't always happen too. And so there's kind of like, almost, I don't want to say there's no answer to it, but it's like, it really just depends on who's running the show. And if we, as crew members, as people who want to be in this industry, demand that, every single time we walk on set, that, like, we can feel like we are safe, that we know that the people around us are looking out for our safety as we are looking out for their safety, and that, like, if something is wrong, that you could band together and say, you know what, I know you guys, I know like production company or director or whoever it is who's running the show. I know you wanted to get this done at a certain amount of time or at a certain budget level, but we have to walk because there's no way that this can happen in the way that you think it's going to happen. And I know that's a very hard thing to do too, because everybody needs a job. Everybody is looking to, kind of put stuff on the resume to kind of move up, and be challenged. And sometimes you're kind of stuck because you're especially if you're on set and you're like, well, we got to make this day, but there's also dangerous things happening. It's like, especially if like you're in a role that doesn't really hold any power or any weight, then that makes it even like that's more of a challenge. And yeah, I mean there are supposed to be people that you can go to, that you can talk to. I mean, I know all the guilds have have hotlines that you can call if you see something happening on set that you think is something that's dangerous, or that like somebody's being mistreated. Like there are resources out there, but you don't know that they're out there until you go looking for them. And that's another part of it too. It's like, I don't think anybody knows that they can say something, that there are like phone numbers to call, and you can email people about things that are happening. And I mean, yeah, like what if somebody finds out that like you said something about something dangerous, like there is that fear that you could be blackballed, or you'll never be hired again if you like call out something that's wrong. And that's another fear, and I totally get that. But it's like it's a problem that just keeps happening, and a lot of it just comes down to the fact that I think the expectation to make a movie or a show is so condensed down to like a schedule that is defined by budget, obviously, but it's like the fact that crews are able to pull it off is the reason why it keeps happening. And the reason why it keeps happening is because crews are kind of forced to like put in the extra work to make sure that like they make the day, but they're not rewarded for it, and nobody steps back and says, well, yeah, the crews are being exhausted. What if we, instead of like spending 3 months to make a film, what if we spend like 6 months? Like, would it be that bad if we added on another couple months? Especially to make sure that like people can like feel safe, can walk away from set, can have time with their families. Like, what deadline are we really trying to meet? Like, honestly, what kind of deadline are we trying to meet? I mean, okay, sure, there are, the studios take out loans to make films, and so they want to be able to make the film, get the film out into the theater so that they can make their money back, so they can pay back the loans. Yes, that's a very stressful financial position to be in, and I can see why they would see it as, we need to get this made and out to the public right away, because before we know it, there's going to be interest payments on these loans, and we can't handle that because we need to pay back the money. And that's another just stress point that just kind of filters down to the people who are making these things. And that's really unfair. That's a crap place to be in if you're at the bottom of the rung, if you're at the bottom just trying to make a living. Because you're like, yeah, I'm putting in all this work, I'm breaking my back to make sure that this gets made, only for just for the studio to be able to pay to get this out there and to pay back some loan that they took out on it. it just needs to change. Like that paradigm needs to change. There needs to be more time on set to allow for safety. There needs to be more time on set for people to do their job without exhausting themselves. There needs to be more time away from set to recuperate, to spend time with, one's family, or to be able to just travel home. Because sometimes it's like the crew is an hour away from set, and that means that even if they get 12 hours off, they still have to spend 2 hours of that commuting to the set. So anyway, guys, it's a very complicated situation, and it's not. We can be safe about this. We can treat life on set as if, people can get hurt. And we're seeing more and more stories about, people getting hurt. And it shouldn't be that way. And so stuff needs to change. I don't have many answers about that. The people who are actually in it, who are working these big shows, they know exactly what they need, and with this IATSE potential strike, I mean they're telling everybody that the way that things have been going is not the way to be sustainable. This is not the way that we're going to be able to bring new people in. This is not the way that we're going to have a movie business or an entertainment business 10, 20, 30 years from now. This is no way to do it, because the people who are making who are actually breaking their backs to make these things, they're not being compensated. They're not given the just common sense things that human beings need in order to survive, in order to keep, making movies. And that's really what we're all looking for, right? No matter what role you're in, you want to be in this for the long run. You want to be able to look back when, you're old and say, yeah, I worked 30, 40, 50 years in the movie business because of the fact that I was able to have a sustained career. I was able to be paid enough. I was able to not burn myself out because of the fact that the way the system was set up was for longevity and not this quickly trying to make a buck. But I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, the only answer that I can think of is just money. Once studios are see that they're not making money, or that once they're losing enough money, then they'll come around to, oh, maybe we should change the way we're doing this. While everybody else who is below that, who's been making these things, are yeah, we have been telling you for 40 years that this is what needs to change, and now you're listening. So yeah. Anyway, it was very sad what happened last week, and this should not happen ever again. Nobody should walk on a movie set and be afraid that they're going to lose their life, or that they're going to be hurt, and it should never happen. And how do we get there? By making sure that when we walk on set that we look around and we say, you know what? This set needs to be safe. We need to make sure that we look out for one another, that that we can have a longevity when we walk on set, that we can keep doing this over and over and over again, and not find ourselves being exhausted or burnt out because of it. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for listening. I know this was a tough topic. It's it's like I said, it's a tough one to even talk about. But all right, guys. So please share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Get the podcast out there to anybody you think would appreciate listening to this, because yeah, I want to keep doing this, and drop me an email, or I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Just, drop me a line. Let me know what you think, what you like, what you don't like. All right, guys. I'll talk to you in the next one. If you'd like to connect with me, there is an email for the podcast. It's tentative.title.with.tim.podcast@gmail.com. There's also a Twitter account. The handle is @title_Tim. There's also a Facebook page where you can post questions, or you can connect with me there. Thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you on the next one.